A moment that had the audience gasping and Twitter buzzing. It was an ordinary Wednesday morning, or at least it started that way. The Live with Kelly and Mark studio was buzzing with its usual pre-show energy. Interns rushed to and fro with coffee orders, a makeup artist dabbed a final bit of powder on Kelly Ripa's already radiant face, and the executive producer gave the 5-minute countdown with the same stoic calm he'd mastered over 2 decades of live television. Kelly Ripa, veteran host, queen of morning banter, was smiling. She always was. Her laughter had become as much a part of America's breakfast routine as toast and coffee. But those who knew her well, those in the inner sanctum of the studio, noticed something different that morning. A glance that lingered too long on the teleprompter. A slight tapping of her pen against the desk during pre-show briefing. Subtle, but telling. The show kicked off in usual fashion. The cameras panned across the audience as music pulsed and the iconic opening title played across the screen. Kelly entered, hand in hand with husband and co-host Mark Consuelos, waving to the crowd with that megawatt smile that made millions feel like old friends. They launched into the host chat segment, a space often reserved for anecdotes about their children, the previous night's dinner, or whatever bizarre story had hit the Florida news cycle. But midway through a light-hearted discussion about Mark's disastrous attempt at assembling IKEA furniture, Kelly's tone shifted. She paused. Mark raised an eyebrow, sensing the shift. The studio grew just a shade quieter. And then she said it. "Can I just say something real for a second?" she asked, not looking at Mark, not looking at the camera, just slightly off to the side, like she was speaking to someone invisible. Mark, ever the pro, nodded cautiously. Of course. Kelly took a deep breath. I know this isn't in the script, and the network might not love it, but I've been holding this in for a while, and I think it's time to be honest. The audience shifted uncomfortably. The production team froze. One floor manager mouthed something inaudible. On camera, Kelly looked serene, but her words cut through the usual fluff like a knife. I'm tired of pretending that everything is always perfect, she said. Every morning, we come out here, and we smile, and we laugh, and we make jokes, and I love it, I really do, but sometimes, even on the happiest show in America, life behind the scenes isn't quite so curated. The silence was deafening. Mark, to his credit, placed a hand gently on hers. Not interrupting, just present. Kelly continued, I think we've all been trained to perform, especially as women in television. To be polished, to smile through things, to avoid making anyone uncomfortable. But the truth is, this job isn't easy. This industry isn't easy. And lately, I've been feeling the weight of pretending everything's okay when, personally and professionally, it's not always been. There was no tear, no melodrama, just calm vulnerability. For years, she said, I've watched amazing women walk away from this business because they dared to be human. Because they said the wrong thing or didn't fit into the daytime TV mold. And I guess I just don't want to be complicit in that silence anymore. It was the kind of unscripted moment that produces dread, but that audiences remember forever. The camera panned to Mark, who looked simultaneously surprised and moved. He gave a quiet nod, then turned to the camera with a crooked smile. Well, he said, you always know how to keep it interesting. Laughter returned, timidly at first. The tension broke. The segment wrapped up a few minutes later, but the buzz had only just begun. Twitter, naturally, exploded. At Morning Joe, did Kelly Ripa just break the fourth wall of morning TV? That was, actually powerful. At Shonda Rhimes, Kelly, wow, that took guts. Women in media need moments like that. At Pop Culture Obsessive, Kelly Ripa just shattered the Stepford wife facade of daytime TV and I'm here for it. And then came the think pieces. Kelly Ripa's on-air honesty signals a new era for women in television. Was that a breakdown or a breakthrough? Daytime gets real, Kelly Ripa and the end of polite pretending. Behind the scenes, the network was in a flurry. Damage control or celebration, spin it or support it. But the ratings told the story. The next morning's show had its highest viewership spike in 3 years. Kelly returned the next day as poised and funny as ever. If there was fallout, she didn't show it. But she did begin the show with a nod to the previous day. I meant what I said, she told viewers. And I appreciate the grace you've all shown. We can be light and real at the same time. Life is both. The audience applauded, louder than usual. They weren't just clapping for a celebrity, they were clapping for the humanity behind the celebrity. For the woman who dared to break protocol in an industry built on perfect surfaces. In a world where so much of what we consume is airbrushed, edited, and produced to perfection, Kelly Ripa's moment of vulnerability was radical in its simplicity. No PR team had scripted it. No brand partnership prompted it. It wasn't a campaign. It was just true. And that truth echoed across screens, Twitter feeds, and text threads between mothers and daughters, morning show fans, and even critics. For once, the gloss had cracked, and instead of a scandal, it created a moment of solidarity. Because in the end, maybe we're all just a little tired of pretending. And maybe, just maybe, live TV finally lived up to its name.